Alrighty, good morning, physics. So, let's review day 19. For your warm-up, a vector has both magnitude and direction. For vector addition, you're both pushing west, so same direction. That means you're going to add the forces, and the net force, it would look something like this. 40 newtons and 55 newtons, both go in the same direction. Add them, and the resultant, or the result, is 95 newtons. Notice the vector arrow is bigger because I added these two smaller ones. Number 3, multiple dimensions. We've got an ant leaving home. 12 centimeters east, that's this way, and then 8 centimeters south. Notice I put the vectors together tip to tail, so tip of one, tail with the other one. And the resulting distance, well, you started here and you ended there, so that's called the resultant. Make sense? Hopefully? Resultant. It's the result of adding those two vectors together. So this is a right triangle because cardinal directions are either north, south, east, west, so they're all at 90 degrees to each other, or 180 degrees, but 90-degree triangle right there. So we know Pythagorean. A squared b squared equals c squared. Since it's the resultant, we change the c, the hypotenuse, to r for the resultant. And so, our equation is already set up. It's in the correct order. We don't have to rearrange it, so we just can now solve. All right, the S parts of substitute and solve of guess. So we know that one of these legs is 12 centimeters. Plug it in. The other one's 8. Plug that in. Make sure you square the whole thing, the number and the unit. And you get 144 centimeters squared plus 64 centimeters squared is 210 centimeters squared. We want to find the resultant, so we have to square root both sides. We get this, but we only have 2 sig figs. Actually, we really only have 1. So I wrote that the answer was 14 centimeters squared. Honestly, the answer would be 1 times 10 to the 10 to the 1 centimeters squared. You have to write it in scientific notation, so I made a little boo-boo there, but that's the gist of it for that one. Okay. What else? You had some classwork. Let's take a look at this briefly. One of these was, where'd it go? Here we go. The push. And so you had to look at this image and see what was going on with that. All right, the equal and opposite pushes. Introducing tip to tail vector addition. I just talked about that with the warm-up, putting them together the correct way. Looking at the notes very briefly. And it looks like this. So again, this is what we just talked about. If you missed any of this, if you go to the notes, you can find it. The tricky part about this is figuring out the direction. So this part is easy. The Pythagorean part you're used to. But figuring out the direction is a little bit harder. So we'll take a moment on that. To figure out the direction of the resultant, because it is a vector, it has a little arrow on top, we need to figure out this angle in here. And there's a way to do that, and it's using sine, cosine, or tangent. In this case, we know the leg that's adjacent to the angle, and we know the leg that's opposite to the angle. So if you know SOHCAHTOA, you'll know that TOA, T-O-A, here it is tangent is used for opposite over adjacent. Since we have opposite and adjacent, we're going to use tangent. We're going to use the tangent to figure out this angle. And so the way that works is you set up the equation. Tangent equals opposite over adjacent, just like this. Tangent of theta, theta being the angle, equals opposite over adjacent. And then you plug in the values of the opposite and the adjacent. The opposite is b, so whatever that is, you put it in. The adjacent is a, so whatever that is, you put it in. And then you solve for theta. And the way you do that is you actually rearrange this equation by taking the inverse of both sides. And so that looks like this. Theta comes out, and we take the inverse tangent of the opposite divided by the adjacent. Now this is a function that you can find on your calculator. Usually it's using the second key, and so you can find that. You can also do that on your phone calculators. On the iPhone, you have to rotate it sideways. So there's the answer, and then 2 sig figs. There it is. And the result, this is the final answer, is this here, that we've got a magnitude and a direction. And the direction is 41 degrees. And which way is that? Well, it's this way. So this way is east or west? It's east. And it's east from where? Which way is this? You should be thinking north. So it's 41 degrees east of north, and that's why it's written this way. So that's how you do those. Let's see what else there was. That was it. I wanted you to do some practice problems, so you should have tried those out. I'll post some other information in a little bit. Thanks for watching.